There is so much confusion around what diet culture is. I see it on the internet almost every single day. People saying that they think they know about it, that diet culture doesn't exist in certain places, saying that they're not participating in diet culture. I've honestly seen it all, and I think that it's time that you and me talked about what diet culture is, especially seeing that I am an anti-diet culture dietitian. So it's important, one, for me to define it so that you can understand what the heck I'm talking about, but it's also really essential, I believe, if you are wanting to heal your relationship with food and your body, to understand, where did all of this come from? Where did the diets come from? Where did the rules come from? Where did the beliefs about your body come from? And in anything that exists inside of us, anything that we believe that we weren't born with, it's important to understand it, because if you can't see and recognize what is happening for you, then it's difficult to challenge it. Think about the food rules that you have and where they came from and why they're there. We have to trace it back to its origins and talk about diet culture. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what diet culture is, and I'm going to define it for you. And I'm going to tell you why it's important that you understand diet culture if you are wanting to heal your relationship with food and your body. But before we dive into that, my name is Catherine Metzelaar. I'm a registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and eating disorder specialist, here to help you create peace with food and your body so that all of it takes up less headspace and you can live your life with more freedom, presence, joy, and pleasure. Be sure also to check out the free resource that I have for you below, especially if you are just starting your food healing journey. It is so common to feel afraid of gaining weight. You are not alone. And this doesn't need to stop you from creating peace with food. It is a guide that will walk you through step by step things that you can do to challenge that fear, but also make a lot of space for that fear, because let's be real, healing your relationship with food and your body is complex. So check it out below. You definitely want to take a listen to this. Diet culture is the system that you and me and everybody else exists within. This is why I say this is the water that you and me and everybody else are swimming in. It is constant and it is omnipresent. It is generational and it is cultural. So let's talk about what is it. Diet culture is a system that first and foremost promotes weight loss at any cost to your physical and/or mental well-being. This idea that you should do whatever you can, no matter how it harms your body or your mental health, to lose weight. And by extension, the assumption that if you lose weight, if anybody loses weight, it's always a good thing. It's always something positive. And we see this in so many different ways. I can tell you how many times I've heard people say, I had cancer, I had the death of my loved one, I was really depressed and I lost tons of weight, and got all kinds of compliments because people were assuming that it was a positive thing when in fact I was really sick. And then that's what ended up spiraling them into disordered eating or into their eating disorder. It is the promotion of the thin ideal and the assumption that if you are thin, then that means that you are a healthy person, that we can just look at someone and determine their level of health, in particular as it relates to someone's size of their body. And within that, we make assumptions in diet culture about someone's intelligence, someone's capability, someone's mobility, someone's discipline or lack thereof, based on their body size. So in diet culture, if someone is in a thin body, then we assume all good things about them. We give them the benefit of the doubt. And if there is any fat on someone's body or they exist in a larger body, then we assume things about their intelligence levels, then we assume things about how healthy or not healthy they are. And so the benefit is always given to the person in a thin body in this case. It is also the promotion of diets, this idea that somebody else knows what your body needs. And if you've been around long enough, you know how often this has changed. One generation or one set of 5 to 10 years, it'll be one diet, and then some person, usually a white man, comes out with another diet. diet, and the cycle just continues and continues, which gets honestly really confusing. It is this idea that you should always be on a diet, and if it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle program, or else you're doing something wrong, and this is part of diet culture. It is the oversimplification of health as well, and an overemphasis on food and movement as it relates to health outcomes. And what I mean by this more specifically is that a big part of our health and well-being is determined by what we call social determinants of health. I've talked about this in other videos. And honestly, if we are talking about health and well-being, we have to be including systems of oppression like ableism and racism and the patriarchy and so much more, because they impact our well-being and how we move through this world. When you are under chronic stress because of the way that you're being treated, we have to be including that into it. And in diet culture, it just completely ignores all the systems of oppression that significantly impact our health and our well-being, as well as the social determinants of health. And it says, you as an individual have complete control over your body size and your health and well-being, and you just change what you eat and change how you move, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. But that's actually not the reality of how our health and well-being works. It's actually quite complex. It is also the promotion and honestly valuing of food restriction. How well do you cut out foods and not eat foods as this symbol and signaling of control, of dominance, of perfectionism, of really just idolizing the person who cannot eat food or can control themselves around food. And this is part of diet culture. The more that you can cut foods out, the more that you can show to others and to the world that you have a lot of control around food, the more that you will be valued in diet culture. And lastly, the system of diet culture means the vilification of certain foods and food groups, and the elevation and idealization of certain foods and food groups. Now, this is also a constantly moving target, but we see it now all the time, right? Think about it from your experience. What kinds of foods right now in food groups have you been told are good and you should eat more of them and you're not getting enough of them? And think about the foods that are demonized and vilified. And then think about what happens when you eat the foods that are vilified and you're told that they're not good for you, and what happens when you eat the foods that you're told that are pedestalized, you're told that are really good for you. It creates this real black and white situation where either you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong, and there is no nuance there. It really likes to categorize foods as good and bad, when in reality, food and eating and your relationship with food is so much more complex than that. Diet culture generally over-focuses on the individual. It says you have control and you can change things, and your health and well-being is the result of you not trying hard enough, of you not doing enough, eating in the right way, moving in the right way. And honestly, we have enough research to support that that is just not true. Humans are just more complex than that. And diet culture completely omits all the things that contribute to our health, our well-being, our longevity, that actually impacts us more than the food that we're eating and the way that we're moving. So why am I talking about diet culture, and why do I want you to know what diet culture is and be able to spot it? It's because what happens throughout our lives, and honestly this starts at birth because our parents and our grandparents and many, many, many generations have been impacted by diet culture, we then internalize those messages. And it's not just our family, of course, it's people around us, it's our culture, it's systems, it's gym class. There are endless amounts of examples of how much you are told from birth about food and about bodies and about your body and about other people's bodies. And when you are told something enough, it begins to become a belief of your own. And this is what internalization is. It means that the system that you exist within no longer needs to tell you the things, it's just inside of you. This is why when you first start doing healing work with your relationship with food in your body, if you were to be asked, whose voice is that? You'd say, this is my own voice. I don't like my body. I feel terrible when I eat this food, and I'm bad, and right, all the things that come up. It's important when you are healing your relationship with food to be able to recognize the system within you, because your beliefs, many of them about food and about your body, you are not born with. You likely don't believe those, and yet you might be in a situation right now where you're like, yes, I do believe them. They feel like my own. I hear them all the time too, and it's just this sort of echo chamber. So one of the first and really important steps of healing your relationship to food is being able to recognize, oh, that's diet culture. Oh yeah, diet culture is this. That thing that I'm thinking, that thing that I'm believing is actually diet culture, and it's not mine to own. And this is what helps you to challenge those beliefs. If you can recognize the system, then you can begin to challenge it. Think about another really impactful system like the patriarchy. So if you are a woman and you are wanting to challenge beliefs that you have about women that impact you, you have to first understand, and not all the intimate details by any means, but you first have to understand, what is the patriarchy? What does it mean to be a woman, be socialized as a woman in a patriarchy? What do the laws say and have they dictated about women? What rights do we have about our body? What rights did we recently acquire around having a bank account, being able to buy a home, etc.? Understanding the patriarchy and the messages that were sent as women then helps us to understand the ways in which we have internalized misogyny, because we all do. And this is the same thing. Understanding what diet culture is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, can help us to understand any internalized beliefs that we have about fatness, about food, and about a combination of both. In summary, it is important to understand what diet culture is. This is something you're going to continue to learn over time. I really do believe that healing your relationship with food in your body is like a blooming onion. You peel back one layer and then you realize there's more there. If you like this video, I always appreciate a like. Be sure to check out the free resource that I have for you below, and I will see you back here soon.